Welcome to this explainer. How often do we treat sleep like it's just some kind of luxury? Like it's just something we can easily trim down when deadlines are looming or when life just gets a little too busy? Well, today we are reframing that completely. Because sleep loss is not just a minor inconvenience, it is an active, severe neurological crisis for your brain. Over the next few minutes, we're going to unpack exactly how skipping just a few hours of rest forces your brain into immediate structural, chemical, and cognitive degradation. Here is how we'll break it down today. First, the silent crisis. Second, the glymphatic rinse cycle. Third, cognitive breakdown and reaction debt. Fourth, halting brain plasticity. And finally, the neurorecovery protocol. All right, let's jump right into part one, the silent crisis, which really is a true neurological emergency. Picture a healthy, fully rested brain. It's this incredibly active, highly optimized machine. Your neurons are firing rapidly, translating information into conscious thought literally instantly, all while actively maintaining these critical internal structures. But when you're sleep deprived, it's a completely different story. Your brain cells actually become sluggish. Research shows they fire much more weakly and they transmit information significantly slower. This causes this massive localized breakdown in communication all across your neural network. It's essentially an immediate degradation of your neural architecture, where the active maintenance of your brain simply stops functioning. Which brings us to part two, the glymphatic rinse cycle, or what I like to think of as the brain's nightly cleaning cycle. So think of the glymphatic system as your brain's nightly garbage truck. It's this massive brain-wide network that uses literal waves of cerebral spinal fluid to just wash away the toxic metabolic waste that naturally builds up while you're awake. But here's the catch. This system operates efficiently, almost exclusively during deep, slow-wave sleep. During that phase, the glial cells in your brain actually shrink by up to 60%, and that creates these wider channels for the cerebral spinal fluid to powerfully wash through the brain tissue and flush out all that accumulated debris. When a healthy brain gets that deep, consolidated slow-wave sleep, this fluid flows incredibly smoothly. It efficiently washes away all those waste particles. But during severe, fragmented sleep, that fluid dynamic system completely stagnates. The really crucial toxic proteins, like beta amyloid and tau proteins, they can't get flushed out. So instead, they start to accumulate. They cluster together and physically tangle within your neural pathways, directly disrupting your brain's cellular functions. And when that waste isn't cleared out, you get a serious buildup of toxic beta amyloid plaques. Now, these plaques are a primary hallmark of Alzheimer's disease and long-term neurodegeneration. In fact, even just a single night of sleep deprivation causes an immediate measurable increase in beta amyloid. But your brain still desperately tries to survive this crisis. There's this incredible MIT study that found when you're sleep deprived, your brain actually attempts to force compensatory pulses of this cleaning fluid during the day while you are wide awake. The terrifying part? These daytime pulses perfectly coincide with momentary complete failures of attention. Your brain is literally sacrificing your conscious focus just to take out the trash. Let's move on to part three, cognitive breakdown and reaction debt. 0.10%. That's a really important number. If you are awake for 24 straight hours, your cognitive abilities and your reaction times absolutely plummet to a level equivalent to a blood alcohol content of 0.10%. That is well over the legal limit for driving. So from a purely functional standpoint, you are legally intoxicated just from skipping sleep. And your reaction time? It essentially doubles. This level of severe impairment triggers incredibly dangerous lapses in active processing. We call these microsleeps. These are brief, totally involuntary episodes that last anywhere from 1 to 15 seconds, where local regions of your brain just simply shut off. Your eyes might be wide open, you might be sitting up perfectly straight, but you are completely blind to visual and auditory cues. To put that into perspective, if you're driving 60 miles per hour, a 3-second microsleep means you just traveled the entire length of a football field while entirely unconscious. No way, right? And regionally, the breakdown in the brain is just catastrophic. Your working memory, which is basically your brain's temporary scratch pad, shrinks by 20 to 30%. Your prefrontal cortex, the area that handles impulse control and risk assessment, practically goes offline, which makes your decision-making super reckless. Meanwhile, your amygdala, that's the brain's emotional threat center, it becomes up to 60% more reactive. That means minor everyday frustrations suddenly trigger massive, totally disproportionate stress responses. You're basically losing your rational brakes, and your emotional accelerator is mashed completely to the floor. Okay, part four, halting brain plasticity, or what we can call the memory blockade. During a good night's sleep, your active systems consolidate all your memories through neuronal replay and specific brainwaves. But poor sleep? It causes a complete blockade of that process. Without REM and deep sleep, your brain experiences severe neurotransmitter imbalances and a massive reduction in neurogenesis, which is the creation of new neurons. Synaptic plasticity actively halts. You literally lose the physical ability to wire new information into your neural networks. Think of your hippocampus, which is where you form all your new memories, as a notebook, but it has a limited number of pages. Sleep is what transcribes those notes into long-term storage, clearing out the pages for the very next day. If you skip sleep, it's like you're trying to write in a book that's already completely full. And because of this, sleep-deprived individuals show a staggering 40% deficit in their ability to form any new memories at all. And when you try to force new information into that full notebook, you get a phenomenon called feedback blunting. This is a drastically diminished capacity to adapt to new information or to learn from your mistakes. But it gets worse. Sleep deprivation actually makes your brain highly susceptible to fabricating false memories. You don't just forget things, you actually remember things incorrectly, structurally embedding completely false data right into your brain's network. Finally, let's get to part 5, the neuro recovery protocol, and how we actually go about saving your brain. So how do we fix this? How do we clear out that brain fog? Luckily, the science gives us some very clear, actionable protocols. First, you absolutely must prioritize getting enough deep, non-REM and REM sleep to optimize your sleep architecture, because again, that's when the glymphatic system cleans house. Second, you have to maintain strict, regular sleep schedules to anchor your circadian rhythm. Third, use bright lights during the day. This really helps reinforce wakefulness. And fourth, if you're already in a sleep deficit, implement some strategic short naps to prevent those dangerous microsleeps and lapses in active processing we talked about earlier. But we have to understand this. Recovery is absolutely not instant. Chronic sleep deprivation physically rewires your brain over time. It shrinks your gray matter, it deteriorates your white matter tracts, and it permanently ratchets up your stress axis. Reversing all that damage, rebuilding neurogenesis, and fully restoring your cognitive function, you can't achieve that just by sleeping in on a random Saturday. It requires a sustained long-term commitment to consecutive nights of optimized rest. So, knowing the severe neurological cost we just walked through, the toxic plaques building up, the emotional overdrive, the memory blockades, and those silent, terrifying microsleeps, what are you going to prioritize tonight? True brain health or dangerous complacency? The choice is entirely yours.